Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just realized yesterday that it's coming up on 20 years of me moving to Japan, and that's just wild. I can remember moving here so clearly, and it's so strange to realize that that was 20 years ago now. What the heck? I thought this would be a good time to ask you if you had any questions about life in Japan, working here, living here, having pets, speaking Japanese, etc. So I asked you guys for questions on Instagram. Thank you so much for sending so many in. Let's get right into it. What's something you still can't get fully used to in Japan, and what's something you liked from day one? The thing that I still can't get used to is Japanese style toilets. Still hate them, will always hate them, clearly, it's been 20 years. What's something that I liked from day one that I still like now? My first experience in Japan was way up in the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, in like a bunch of rice fields. And I think the views of the green rice fields really impressed me. And even today, I love green rice fields. I don't think I'll ever get bored of that. That's one thing that I liked when I first came here and I still like now. Japanese cat toys versus US Canadian cat toys. I find that they're a lot more creative in Japan. You can find some really interesting cat toys here. For example, Maro's absolute favorite cat toy is this little Ebby Fry. It's well loved. He's had this thing for ages. He's looking at me right now because he wants it. He's in love with this thing. It's so cute. For Christmas, I got him this massive version of it and he uses it as a kicker toy. He was so stoked when he opened this present. If you're a pet owner, I really encourage you to find a big pet store when you're here in Japan and go shopping for toys for your pets because they're very, very different. Lots of questions about how to buy a house in Japan as a foreigner. It's not an issue. You're not treated any differently just because you're a foreigner. The only issue is if you'd like to get a loan or like to get a mortgage, you need to have permanent residency. So if you're buying in cash, no problem at all. Don't need to worry. If you're foreign, you're Japanese, it'll be the same. If you want to get a loan, then you need permanent residency. How did you initially save money to go to Japan? Saving is hard. Yeah, I was lucky in that I had lots of jobs. While I was in high school and also while I was in my first couple of years of university in Canada, I had probably 3 part-time jobs going at all times. I worked as a cashier in a Japanese grocery store in Canada. I was a server in a sushi restaurant. I did construction work with my grandpa. I was a tour guide for Japanese students and Chinese students that were visiting Victoria. I was able to save up money that way. Honestly, what else can I say to you guys other than just work a lot? What's the best hike you've been on in all of Japan? Also, your personal favorite best season. Best season is autumn. I always say that because the weather is nice and cool, you can enjoy being outside, there's no humidity, and the leaves are gorgeous. I would say spring, but spring is just so crowded here because so many tourists come here to see the cherry blossoms. If you're gonna be in Tokyo, I would say the best time to come is autumn. It just feels a little calmer here. And the best hike I've been on is hands down the Nakasendo Trail. Me and Chris just did it recently, and it was such a good experience. Unfortunately, I was very sick at the time. We got there, we stayed the night beforehand, and I woke up in the morning feeling like hell. So it made the hike a lot more difficult than it probably would have been. So it's hard for me to explain the difficulty of the hike. I would say it's probably very enjoyable. Regardless of how I felt, the views were so nice and it's such a calm experience. We didn't see that many people on the trail. We would pass people maybe every half hour or so. It wasn't overly crowded. I really like how the hike is broken up by little towns. So you'll have like a big hike through the mountains for a few hours and then you'll end up in a town and you can explore the town, stop for food, stop for tea, take a little rest, and then you're off on the next hike through the forest. And it kind of just continues like that. And you can choose where you start and where you stop. We started at Nakatsugawa and we hiked for I think 4 to 5 days, maybe 4 days. And we ended up in Naraijuku, which is a very nice route. I recommend that if you want like a 4-day experience. How can I move to Japan with no degree? Okay, I get this question a lot and I moved here with no degree. However, I'm very lucky that I'm Canadian and we have a working holiday arrangement with Japan. So I could get the working holiday visa That's how I spent my first year here. It's not required that you have a degree for that. So as long as you have the citizenship of a country that is participating in the working holiday arrangement with Japan, you could move here long term on that visa. Another option is to use the cultural activities visa. This is one not many people know about. You can apply for a visa if you want to study some form of Japanese cultural activity, martial arts, calligraphy, flower arrangement. And of course, there's the student visa. I spent many of my years here in Japan on a student visa while I was going to both Japanese language school and university here. Do you think it would be hard to relocate to Japan when you're in your 40s? No, not at all. Not any harder than it would have been if you moved here when you were a teenager or 20. I moved here when I was 18. I would say it would probably have been easier for me to move here now at this age, 38, having all the life experience that I do. I don't see any reason that being older would hold you back in any way if you want to move to Japan. I am a digital entrepreneur who doesn't need to work in Japan. How can I live in Japan? Well, lucky for you, there is a brand new visa available to people who want to do nomad work in Japan. So check out the nomad visa. I believe it's for stays of 6 months. It is designed for people like you who would like to live in Japan and work remotely. So check that out. After 20 years of living in Japan, do you feel Japanese and accepted by Japanese people? I don't feel Japanese nationality-wise. I'm not Japanese. I'm still Canadian, still have my Canadian citizenship. I would say I still feel very Canadian. However, I've probably picked up a lot of Japanese mannerisms and cultural behaviors living here so long. But yeah, in no way do I feel Japanese. Do I feel accepted by Japanese people? Yeah, on a daily basis, I feel pretty comfortable living here. I often forget that I'm completely different to the majority of the population here. Most people treat me pretty normally on a day-to-day basis, so I would consider that as being accepted. On the reverse side of that, however, have you ever been rejected for being a foreigner, like at a cafe or when you try to rent a place, get a bank account, etc.? Yes, many times. Many times. Not in trying to get into a restaurant sense, but renting an apartment. I would say probably 60%, maybe more, of the apartments that I wanted to live in flat out said no because you're a foreigner, and they were very open about that. So that is one thing that I consistently get rejected from just because I'm a foreigner. Even though I've lived here so long and I speak Japanese, got experience living in Japan, I know how things work. Just because I'm a foreigner, I will flat out get rejected from a lot of rental properties. As for restaurants and stuff, it's probably happened 2 or 3 times, and I've been here 20 years. So that gives you an idea of how common that is. Aside from renting an apartment, I would say I don't have issues. Best places in Ibaraki to see. I am so glad you asked this. I recently did quite a long trip throughout Ibaraki. I made lots of little videos over on my Instagram highlighting the places that I went to that I loved. So please go check that out. Off the top of my head, my absolute favorite place in Ibaraki was Owarai Isosaki Shrine. Gorgeous, but you have to get up at sunrise to see it at its full potential. But I promise, as a not morning person, it's 100% worth it. It was beautiful. It was such a nice experience to stand there and hear the waves crashing in over the beautiful Torii Gate as the sun was rising in the background. If you had to buy another house, would you consider rural Japan or any place up north? Yes, Ushka and I have been discussing this because I love Morioka so much, and just Tohoku in general. North Japan is my favorite area of Japan. That's never gonna change. And I would love to have a place up there that you guys can rent out when you come to Japan and experience the North as well. So 100% we are considering that. I would love to do it. It's more like the logistical issues of how to get a cleaner set up and management of the place, because we won't be up there physically ourselves. Makes it a bit difficult, but would absolutely love to do it. Food from home you really miss in Japan. There are so many things. I miss all the food. Even after being here for so long, I still really miss the food from back home in Canada. Scones, sweet potatoes. I miss sweet potatoes so bad. That might be #1. Before you say, but Japan has sweet potatoes. Yes, Japan has sweet potatoes, but they're completely different. They're totally different sweet potato experience. They are sweeter here, they're drier, it's a different texture. They're amazing in their own way, but they're nothing like sweet potatoes back in Canada. That'd probably be my number one. I also miss long stem broccoli, cauliflower. You can get them here, but they're hard to find. Like, I'm not gonna find it at my closest supermarket. Pumpkin pie. I could go on and on, honestly. I miss so much food from Canada. But if I were to leave Japan, I'm sure I would miss so much food from here as well. So I need to live somewhere that has the best of both worlds. If you're living outside of Japan and you would like to try some Japanese snacks, our sponsor Sakurako to the rescue. Sakurako is a monthly Japanese artisan snack subscription box. Every month you will get 20 authentic, artisan, and traditional Japanese snacks in here, as well as a Japanese tea and a surprise Japanese tableware item. This month's theme is Traditions of Tokyo. I love looking through the booklet. It's filled with info about all the snacks in this box, as well as allergy info and a bunch of cultural information about Japan. They work together with local Japanese snack makers, so even though I've lived here for 20 years, there is always something inside the Sakurako box that I have not tasted or seen yet. Belgian waffle that's flavored like milk tea. Is it weird to have something that's tea flavored like this? I feel like I've been here too long. I can't tell what is strange or not. It's so good. It tastes like buttery pancakes, but with a hint of Earl Grey flavor. This month's tea is a Kuro Mamecha. It's naturally very sweet and smooth. Oh, hell yes. These look like one of my favorite Japanese snacks. Yum. So good. Flavor is really subtle. It's just like a light salt, but it's so addictive. If you would like to get your hands on your very own box of delicious Japanese treats from Sakurako, you can use my code to save some money off your order. Check out the links below in the description box. And let's get back into the questions. What kind of cat will you get next? Ushka is a bad influence. I do not need another cat. I have my hands full with these two, mostly this one. Such a brat, so energetic. Never a boring moment with Tuna around. This one is an angel. Hates being held though. What was the process like? How did you house hunt when you first moved to Japan? I think I used the exact same website that I use now. You can type in like how many rooms you want, if you want it pet friendly, which station you want it to be close to. Most of them will say no to you because you're a foreigner, but eventually you'll find one. Best way to learn the language for free if I have no one to practice with. There are so many ways for you guys to practice Japanese nowadays. I know lots of people that use AI and have a conversation in Japanese with AI. That's another way to do it.
日本語話せますか？
はい、日本語を話せますよ。何かお手伝いできることがあれば教えてください。
じゃあ明日山形に行きたいんですけど、何時に出発しなきゃいけないと思いますか？
山形に行くにはどこから出発するかにもよりますが、例えば東京からなら約2時間半ほどかかります。
I didn't have any of these when I was studying Japanese, and I'm pretty jealous of people that are studying Japanese at the moment because you have so many tools at your disposal. How did you stay motivated to learn Japanese? I find I keep losing motivation and need lots of breaks. That's completely understandable. I think it's really important that you have a reason to want to study the language, like a really solid reason that you're working towards. When I was studying Japanese, lots of the people I worked with were Japanese and they couldn't speak English. If I wanted to talk with them, I had to learn Japanese. So that was really my strong motivator for learning the language. I would really think about what is motivating you to want to study Japanese. As long as you've got something really important that means a lot to you, I think if you keep reminding yourself of that, it will encourage you to keep it up. Do you have a Japan bucket list? And if so, what's on it? Been to almost every prefecture except for Okinawa. So Okinawa's on there for sure. I would also like to see more of Nara. I did a trip recently where I kind of visited some of the lesser known areas of Nara and it was so gorgeous. Lots of temples, beautiful mountains, no people. So definitely like to explore more of Nara outside of the deer park and the famous area. Definitely need to go to the Ogasawara Islands. They are islands that are technically part of Tokyo, but to get there you have to take a 24-hour long ferry ride from Tokyo, but I would love to do it. They also have some Pokemon manholes there that I need to see. And finally, I'd like to go to Koyasan, which again is like a cool temple area down in Wakayama Prefecture. What was the best thing you ate in New Zealand? Not Japan related, but I recently went on a very quick trip to New Zealand with Ushka because we found a really cheap plane ticket and thought, why not? I've never been to New Zealand. Let's explore it. We ate so many yummy things that I've never seen before, like really New Zealand dishes. We had pavlova, we had coconut ice, all kinds of pies. Probably my absolute favorite thing would be the sweet potato because I was craving it so bad. What have you been up to lately and how are the wedding plans coming along? The wedding plans haven't really progressed yet because we don't want to get married in Japan. It's really hard to plan anything while we're in Japan. So we need to do some trips over to the UK for like location hunting and all that stuff. We have an idea in our minds of the kind of place we want to have it at, but we need to go see it in person before we can decide on anything. And what have I been up to lately? I've been up to something very exciting that I'm not able to share with you guys yet. Chris and I have been working on something together that you guys will hear about very soon. And that's been taking up a lot of my time recently. Keep an eye out on my Instagram. We'll probably be talking about it over there soon. All the things you could not miss if you visit Morioka. I spent lots of my time in Japan living in Morioka. I love it, it's gorgeous. It's way up north in Iwate Prefecture, but it's very easy to get to because you can take the Shinkansen from Tokyo straight up to Morioka. It takes just over 2 hours. I would say you have to get some ramen. Morioka is famous for noodles, ramen being one of them. They're also famous for their Iwate gyu. You could attempt Wonko Soba if you're brave, the soba noodle eating challenge. It's quite fun. I'm gonna list some of the videos that I filmed in Morioka and just check those out for ideas of places to go because there's so many things that I could tell you guys about, but it's probably better if I show them to you in a video. Any festival recommendations for August or your favorite summer festival overall? Well, my favorite summer festival actually takes place in August. Lucky for you if you're gonna be here in August. Tanabata Festival. It happens in July in some parts of Japan, but in Sendai, which is the biggest Tanabata festival, it happens in August 7th to be exact. So if you happen to be in Japan on August 7th, take the Shinkansen up to Sendai. Totally worth experiencing the festival. It's beautiful, it's so much fun, and I think it's well worth the trip up to Sendai. Insider tips for cafes, shops, places to visit in and around Sendai. I'll be moving there soon. I'm jealous, I miss it. Okay, my favorite cafe in Sendai is Hey Cafe, the most delicious lattes ever. If you haven't been to Matsushima yet, that's a very quick day trip, not far from Sendai at all. Explore the island that you can walk around. If you like sushi, the Sushi Zanmai in downtown Sendai is so good. It is a chain, so you can find it everywhere, but I swear to God, the one in Sendai is the most delicious. So go there and have the tuna if you're a fan of sushi. Are you going to have another skincare box? Yes. Thank you for being patient. It's been months since I've done one because I've been so busy. I'm currently testing out brand new products that Wish Trend just released. I'm trying to find my favorites, see which ones I want to include in the box. So keep an eye out on my Instagram. I will be announcing it over there when it's released. It'll probably be somewhere around the middle or the end of June. Which creators inspire you? It can be on YouTube, Instagram, anywhere. Hands down, the most inspirational creator I can think of is Sunday. She also makes videos here in Japan, so if you don't follow her, go follow her right now. I can guarantee you will like her content. Her editing skills are just top tier, and she's such a badass. She's such a hard worker. She has several businesses. She's always on the go doing stuff. She always looks gorgeous. She's just the coolest person ever, so go follow Sunday. Any place you think is overrated, not worth visiting in Japan. Even the super touristy spots like Kaminarimon in Asakusa or Fushimi Inari in Kyoto, even though they're super touristy and extremely crowded, I would say they're still worth a visit because they're gorgeous spots and they're nice to see. Would I recommend them to somebody when there's so many other cool places you can go in Japan? Probably not. I would recommend something that would be a little less crowded, a little less well-known. I would say like at the moment, maybe the one thing that I think is super overrated is Harajuku. I feel like it's just gone downhill over the years. It used to be quite cool 20 years ago. A lot more chill, a lot less people, but nowadays it's so packed. It's really hard to enjoy a day out in Harajuku, I find. It's a bit of a shame, but off to the side of the main area of Harajuku is something called Cat Street. There's lots of little boutique shops, secondhand shops. I would say I prefer that if you want to go to Harajuku for shopping. That's probably a more enjoyable experience than Takeshita Street itself. Your most cherished moment from early days of living in Japan. There's so many. One that comes to mind is definitely when my favorite actor commented on my Instagram post where I was looking for names for my hamster and he left a name. And I think lots of you guys might recognize him now if you've watched Shogun. He's a very, very talented actor. I've liked him for years. And yeah, that's just one of my coolest memories from Japan is when he commented on my Instagram randomly. Might be weird, but I have toilet anxiety. Are there plenty of toilets? Where would they be? Not weird at all. That is definitely a valid concern. Definitely one I had when I was hiking the Nakasendo Trail, but Japan is great for public toilets. If you are ever in need of a toilet, just look for a station because all the stations have them. Worst case, it will be inside the gates of the station, meaning you'll need to pay to get in, but it'll only be like 100 yen or something, just the entering station fee so you can get through the gates to use the toilet. Shopping malls, cafes, convenience stores, there's toilets everywhere in Japan. Even when you're out in the countryside, like hiking the Nakasendo Trail, we were up on a mountain and there would be these beautiful public toilets to use just on the trail. So yeah, no worries. Japan is probably the best country when it comes to public toilets. If you could visit one prefecture or town for the first time ever again, which one would you pick? I would say it's a tie between Yamagata Prefecture and Hiroshima Prefecture because the first time I visited both of those places, I was just stunned by how gorgeous they are. And it would be really cool to experience that again. Yamagata, the area around where Natsuki lives, specifically, is so beautiful. You've got a beautiful coastline, there's mountains, there's forests with cool temples and shrines, beautiful rice fields. There's a little bit of everything, and that's why I really like Yamagata. And then Hiroshima just has a completely different landscape to northern Japan. The water felt tropical down there. That's why I was really impressed by the scenery down there. Yeah, probably two of like the most beautiful prefectures in my opinion. And I think that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you learned something. I hope it was interesting for you to listen to my thoughts on Japan after living here for almost 20 years now. Definitely check out the videos that I mentioned down below to learn a little bit more about the topics that I covered in this video. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.